Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. We are going to share some information about the Workforce Leadership Academy, and we want this to be an informative time. We're going to leave space at the end for questions, but if you have questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat and we will capture them either in that moment or be sure to capture them at the end. So let me just high level go over our agenda today. We're going to introduce ourselves today on a slide. I think you'll find it very entertaining when we get to that slide. We'll actually go over some general information about what the Workforce Leadership Academy is and how it will run here in Cuyahoga County. And then we'll go over some of the details so that you're aware of the expectations of you, what process you will go through for the applications, as well as what the experience will be like. And we'll share some information from some past experiences in other cities to give you a feel for our experience here, and definitely looking at the qualifications that you may need. And again, feel free as we get to these different parts of the agenda to pop questions in the chat. There we go. I told you it would be fun. So I'm gonna, I'll introduce myself and then hand it over to Rebecca and Sheila to share comments about themselves. I'm LaShawn Sawyer. I'm one of the co-facilitators for the Workforce Leadership Academy. And my home base is towards employment, where I'm the Director of Advocacy and Policy. Rebecca?
Thank you, LaShawn. And again, thanks everyone for being here. They asked for a picture. Well, Carter, my colleague Carter, asked for a picture, and I said, let me put something funny in here. Many of you may know that that's Pikachu. I am not indeed Pikachu, but I wanted to just start off with a bit of fun because we're going to be talking about commitment and the work. And I know LaShawn and I have worked together for a long time, but I know we're also committed to having fun and bringing joy into the session, even though we'll be dealing with a lot of weighty topics. So I will put a picture of myself in there at some point, but we will also be having some fun along the way. And Sheila.
Yes, my name is Sheila McGuire. I'm a senior fellow at the Aspen Institute, and I'm very glad to be spending the next hour or so with my colleagues in Cleveland, and very delighted that the Aspen Institute is working with the Ohio Workforce Coalition on this academy offering.
Thank you, Sheila. So I think we're going to go into kind of the just a brief overview of the coalition, but I do want to say the goals for today, as LaShawn reviewed the agenda, really are to introduce the Workforce Leadership Academy. Many of you are familiar with it, but to introduce it, to answer any of your questions, share what we're thinking and priorities for the local implementation, and then also to identify where there might be gaps between what you're asking and what we have ready to tell you. So keep in mind that this is the first time that LaShawn and I have done this. We're really excited, but it's always, learning for us as well. And again, it's going to be a good time. So as Sheila mentioned, Aspen is partnering with the Ohio Workforce Coalition. The coalition has been around for about 15 years. Shameless plug, sign up for our newsletter at ohioworkforcecoalition.org. We are doing a webinar on Thursday at 1 o'clock to tell everyone about what we're going to be doing this year. So please join us. But we're really an organization that engages a wide range of workforce stakeholders across kind of the human service to economic development continuum and beyond, to tackle workforce and talent, HR, training, all sorts of policy and practice. I want to say issues because that's the word I use all the time, but it doesn't always have to be an issue. We also share a lot of best practices, and we do a lot of network engagement and sharing information and trying to connect people and bringing what we hear in Columbus back to local areas and local stakeholders, and trying to bring in national experts like Aspen and lots of other folks. There's webinars that you can watch on our website and record them, share information, and so on. And we do all of that network building to be able to mobilize that network around public policy and practice. Frequently, that is a question of trying to support work that creates an Ohio that is consistent with our vision, and that is a future when all Ohioans have equitable access to opportunity and the resources they need to take advantage of it, where Ohio's businesses have a skilled workforce that is placed in and advancing in quality jobs, and that Ohio's workforce systems are transparent and equitable, based on data, and accountable to all of us as residents of the great state of Ohio. We are partnering on this work with the Northeast Ohio Workforce Coalition, which is our first regional affiliate, and we're super excited about that. I'm going to give the floor back to Dr. Sawyer to say a few words about the Northeast Ohio Coalition.
Absolutely. So Northeast Ohio Workforce Coalition came out of the Ohio Workforce Coalition. We are the first chapter, and we hope to be the first chapter of many in the state of Ohio. And it came about understanding the need to talk about workforce concerns, issues, and advancements of agendas across the state, but also wanting to lift up the nuances that are specific to Cuyahoga County. And so with that mindset and that agenda, Northeast Ohio Workforce Coalition was born. And it's a collection of individuals, stakeholders, those directly working in workforce, as well as other members of the ecosystem that are impacted by the workforce initiatives or contribute to the workforce initiatives. And so we come together, we talk about active legislation and policies, but also the main focus is for us to utilize our efforts in a collaborative way. So when there is a concern for one of us, it really is an impact across the entire workforce. And so we come together, strategize, and see how we can lift up our shared agenda to impact the county. I'm going to hand this off to Sheila.
Great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Sheila, to Rebecca.
So this is just a quick slide to let you know that Dr. Sawyer and I are not in this alone. There is an advisory council of local leaders from a wide range of organizations. They have been invited to participate on the leadership as a local advisor and in this leadership role to both help engage the community in the academy, so to get the word out and to talk to all of you, but then to also, answer some questions about what's working in the local ecosystem, what's not, what should we think about prioritizing for topics, or what ideas do they bring to the table. So you'll recognize probably at least some of these names and organizations. We tried to get a cross-sector approach to the leadership. Of course, Cleveland and Cuyahoga County are not huge when it comes to this particular ecosystem. So a lot of you have likely worked with these organizations, and we've met with them twice. They will be involved in selection of the fellows, and so reviewing all of the applications, selecting fellows, and then they'll be involved over the duration of the fellowship by way, they might be available to answer questions or to do some of the collab work, or just come to networking events and get to know the fellows. So That's the local advisory group. And I am going to actually turn it over to Sheila now, who is going to go through an overview of what actually is this Workforce Leadership Academy. And again, thanks for being here, Sheila. This has been a passion project of hers, and we certainly appreciate her support with getting this launched.
Thank you. It indeed has. After a long career in workforce development, starting working in Newark, New Jersey for the first 13 or so years of my time here, I've had a long passion for workforce development as a strategy, and also for the importance in investment in our own workers. Sometimes I feel like the cobbler's children have no shoes, and that we need professional investment in ourselves to live up to the full potential that the field has to offer our society. So just to say perhaps a little bit to begin with about the Aspen Institute. The Aspen Institute is an international organization that was started in the late 40s after the Second World War, a long time ago. We work in dozens of policy areas, from health to media to environmental to digital, and we offer leadership in programs and fellowships like this one in many of those areas. For example, we do one for community college presidents. We do another one very diverse, different from that brings the voices in several African nations to the media of practitioners who are actually doing good work. So we have a broad range of fellowship opportunities that we offer. And on the next slide, you'll see that the Workforce Leaders Academy is a part of the Economic Opportunities Program of the Aspen Institute. We also do a job quality fellowship that we offer, as well as research on both the business side in terms of employers around job quality and working with workforce development practitioners directly. On the next slide, we'll show a little bit about what is this Workforce Leaders Academy. And I alluded to it earlier, really, that the theory of change of this academy is that by investing in the leaders' skills and knowledge and the relationships between them, that the academy is an opportunity to build a more nimble collaboration that everybody talks about as the success of excuse me, of the workforce field. We know that the rubber hits the road at the local level. And what the intent of the academy is to curate a microcosm of the local ecosystem. People from a wide variety of backgrounds, whether they're from a workforce intermediary, an educational institute, a local or a state government, philanthropy, research areas, all those different areas that you see there on the wheel, and maybe there are some in your area that are not on the wheel, but that are important for you to have there, to bring them together into community for just under a year to work together. And on the next slide, you'll see a little bit of the direct goals that we have. There's an individual goal that you as an individual have an opportunity to reflect throughout the period on your own leadership, not only within your organization, but leading in the ecosystem, in collaborations. We have many opportunities for you to look at your own organization. We apply a race equity lens to every one of the themes that you see here that we do. It is an independent theme, but we also apply it to all the others. So if you look at data, what does it mean to apply a race equity lens to data? And how do you think about disaggregating data and looking and collecting data you didn't used to collect? So as we explore those themes that you see spinning there on the right, we will bring that race equity and systems thinking, which you'll see is the next one, to our work. How do we think not only about all of the issues that we experience every day, but how do we look under those issues to some of the systems changes we could make as an ecosystem to improve the way we deliver services to both businesses and workers? Here's a little bit about the approaches we take. There'll be an opening and closing retreat, and this is away time. I was just chatting to a colleague of mine about how difficult it is for her to multitask. And I reminded her that the research says that we're losing focus through multitasking. This is a time, if you're looking for some space and time to get away and do some reflection and build some networks and have an opportunity to think about yourself, your organization, and the ecosystem you work in, this is something for you. It is away time. We'll bring in national guest faculty who will share with you not just this is how brilliant we are and this is what we present at conferences, but warts and all. The unplugged version, as my colleague likes to call it. You will have the opportunity to do a 360 leadership development where you will name people who will give you feedback and get some professional reflection and help in taking in those learnings for you as an individual leader. We will bring case studies from all over the country of things that have eventually worked, but we of course will be unpacking both the successes and the failures that took. And perhaps more than anything, we will bring together connections with other local leaders. We've been surprised how, even though when people know each other, knowing each other in a local ecosystem is different than really a deep understanding of each other's work and perspectives. You know, if you're coming at the ecosystem from a governmental perspective, you have one set of glasses. If you are from community-based organization, you have another. A community college, you have another. This is about bringing those perspectives together and enhancing the kind of thinking that we can do and ideas and actions we could take that perhaps you wouldn't have thought about if you were only thinking of it through your own lens. I don't know quite what's the right word, maybe the cornerstone of this academy is that during this time you will do an analysis of your own local ecosystem, a vision, a systems analysis, research, and you will develop recommendations of actions that you think are going to be important to advance the local ecosystem. And at the end of the academy, those ideas will be presented to the advisory group plus other stakeholders in terms of your thinking as a group of fellows about the future of the Cuyahoga County and Cleveland workforce system. Next slide, please. You join over the 2022-23 7 other communities that will be running academies approximately the same time. And we will all join together in 2024 for a alumni assembly across those virtual alumni assembly. We are basing the experience of what you will receive during the Leadership Academy on about 14 or so other academies that we've done across the country. So in a way, the curriculum is tested. And on the next slide, we can show you a little bit about what people say. The collaboration is pretty intense. One of the things that happens throughout the year is that people begin to make connections with other people that they didn't know, and then they begin to see ways of working together over time. And we've seen that happening in terms of one of these examples of work with the Mayor's Office of Housing, where people from very different institutions work together to really open up some opportunities there. And then on an individual level, where one of the fellows in an academy took a look at their own paid time off policy and realized baked into it was discrimination. And so they began to look at how they could maneuver that and recategorize and make that a more equitable understanding. And then on the next slide, we see that across the board, people thought that the work they did together on these collabs had the strong potential for change. And I think that's something that's very important to people who put the time into the academy. Yes, go ahead on to the next one. That's great. Here's a picture of our most recent academy was in Phoenix, Arizona. And you will see here 3 of the very fine fellas who were in the academy. And one of the things the academy did for them was to break down this idea of academic and occupational. And so in the middle is Miguel, who is a professor of the more academic literacy programs, and 2 other people, one who knew the Arizona sustainability industry really well. And together, they were able to develop an integrated 101 course for people needing the academic skills, but learning them within the context of drones and artificial intelligence, which was very exciting for them. And then finally, I think the final slide, next slide. Oh no, this is another example. Here's another example. And I've only got 1 more minute. Another example is one of the academies was in Baltimore, and I don't know a tiny bit about the Baltimore economy. Is there's the eds and the meds, where there are high skilled, high benefited jobs. And then there's the hospitality and retail, where there tend to be, and I'm speaking in generalities, lower paid, less quality jobs. So one of the ideas that came up in the academy was to do a project that gave a certain branding to employers that were offering good quality jobs within the hospitality and the retail industry. And that program has been in action now for several years. The idea came out of the academy. It was then birthed in various ways over the next couple of years. And I think we consider one of the successes of their work together. Now, I believe the last slide is for fellows who apply and are accepted into the academy. You will be recognized as fellows on the profiles on the Aspen Institute website with your picture and your profile, which will, and that you'll be recognized as a member of this largest class of fellows that will be coming out during the year 2003 into early 2004. So we are delighted to be here working with Rebecca and Dr. Sawyer and Carter on this project, and look forward to any questions.
So LaShawn is, or I'm sorry, Dr. Sawyer is going to pick up in a minute, but based on what Sheila just said, I realized that I neglected to introduce and include Carter on our introduction slide. So Carter, apologies. She's really the one who pulls all of this together and makes this work and will be a first point of contact throughout the process. Do you want to introduce yourself, Carter?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carter Lennon. Like Rebecca said, I work kind of behind the scenes, trying to make things run smoothly. So if you ever have any questions, my info will be on the last slide. You can reach out and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you. And she would be Wonder Woman cartoon, right?
No.
All right. Sorry about that, Carter. And one more picture, Sheila. You want to talk about a picture? It just looks like how much fun they're having.
Yeah, this is opening retreat. People relaxing or working hard at the opening retreats from across a few of the academies.
Thank you, Dr. Sawyer.
And from the pictures, all of that sunshine will be with us. So we'll make sure that that's part of your experience as part of Northeast Ohio.
Yay.
So wanted to just talk a little bit about the characteristics of someone participating in the Workforce Leadership Academy. And so definitely someone that already practices professionalism and is looking for opportunities to grow and enrich their learning and their network related to workforce and leadership in those areas. Individuals that are in the systemic thinking mode. So you may do direct service providing in your organization, so that does not exclude you from applying. But really the focus of the Workforce Leadership Academy is to make a systemic impact into the ecosystem. And so that ability to see the impact on the individual, but how do we think about that in a systemic way to address concerns and barriers? We are hoping to have individuals that have leadership opportunities currently that allow them to leverage their network within their organization or within the community to impact change. And so thinking about who you sit on Zoom or around the table with at your meetings, and are you in conversations currently that truly can make a huge impact and shift in the right direction in the workforce? And then I think Sheila already talked about the last point as acknowledging your hard work and your commitment to this 10-month endeavor as an Aspen Fellow.
That's my cue for next slide. Sorry about that.
And so just thinking about, is this a right fit for me right now? And our hope is that this is the start of many opportunities going forward. And so we don't see this as an isolated experience, but we see this as an opportunity to bring workforce development and workforce leadership development to the Northeast Ohio area. And so thinking about, what does your schedule look like now? Do I have the capacity over the next year to participate? And whether it's a good fit for you now, don't feel pressured to fit a square peg in a round hole, because our hope is that this is not isolated. And so thinking about that first, if there's bandwidth to do this, there is a 90-minute orientation session. And there's a combination of hybrid sessions online and a variety of in-person experiences throughout the 10-month. There's a 3-day retreat that's in person with 2 overnight stays. We are diligently working on putting the polish on that experience for the incoming fellow cohort. But we want, as Sheila mentioned, an opportunity to unplug from work and think about the future of workforce. And so we start that off with an opportunity for everyone to come together, learn from each other, learn with each other with an opening day retreat. And throughout the year, there's 5 Academy sessions and 5 collaborative lab sessions that are held, and the timelines or in the time expectations are on the slide. And then also a 360 assessment. And that is not just useful for your time in the Leadership Academy, but in your professional development and that support. Thanks, Rebecca, for the update. And towards the end of your Leadership Academy experience, we have culminating activities where you come together, talk about what you've been working on and action steps to move that forward. So although this 10-month period is a working period, we want deliverables and we want to see impact in our community. So the things that you will be talking about, thinking about the systems and the structures that you're trying to impact, we want to keep that conversation going long after the Academy. And so we have some opportunities to close out some of that discussion, but also to share what you've been working on with the community and how we can keep things going.
I want to add just really quickly, the networking and social events are to be determined. And as we think about what we might add, we've had really good feedback or a lot of excitement from the mayor's office. And so there's the possibility of speaking to a delegation from the mayor's office. Certainly there's a new county administration in Cuyahoga County. And so that's just to give you an example of, you know, when we talk about some extra stuff, that's the sort of thing that that might be on the table. So then as we look at what, you know, we talk a lot about commitment, but I think many of you are here to find out whether or not you're a good fit, or what are we looking for, and what's the ideal applicant fellow profile. So want to make sure that we run through this. We are looking for individuals who are located working within Cuyahoga County at this point, and that is a very specific designation because of the desire to really dig into the local ecosystem. So that can be, you know, that just so that we can be very specific about the ecosystem. We're looking for cross ecosystem representation. So you heard Sheila talk about a microcosm of the larger ecosystem. We want to try to recreate, a group that represents both the individuals being served by the workforce ecosystem, but also represents the organizations serving those individuals. And so wide range of organizations, and I think even increasingly so as more and more organizations get into workforce related services. We are looking for individuals who have positional leadership, and Dr. Sawyer mentioned this, so with decision-making authority. So we are looking for people who can make a decision and have the authority to implement it. It's not to say that they're not going to go back and talk to colleagues and that they're acting unilaterally, but that they have that positional authority to be able to make those recommendations on behalf of their organization. We're looking for folks who are engaged in workforce development. So this, again, the workforce development crosses a really wide spectrum and is happening in a lot of different places. It does include career advancement planning, career pathways, job quality work. So there's a lot of different ways to define workforce development, and I encourage you to reach out to us if you have questions or want to talk it through. We really want to be as inclusive as possible as we're thinking through these profile characteristics. Dr. Sawyer also mentioned systems thinking. So if you are someone who kind of geeks out on data and systems and how they all work together and how one influences the other and so on, and I know some of you on this call are those people, then this is the sort of thinker that we would like to apply. So looking for designing and implementing strategies. And I think the examples that Sheila shared certainly give you a good idea of the types of learning that we want to see happen or what would be ideal at the end. We talked about being committed to equity across race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation. This is something that Dr. Sawyer and I have talked a lot about, really wanting to make sure that we are as inclusive as we can be as we're putting together this cohort, but also that we are operationalizing that approach, that you put your money where your mouth is when you're making purchasing decisions. You think about inclusion rather than just who's actually at the table. So we are looking for that, fellows who kind of embody that sort of approach to equity. Individuals who are eager to collaborate and want to be part of collaborative solutions, and then really being willing to commit to a year of learning, come to the sessions. There will be pre-reads, there might be videos or other things that we ask you to do to prepare. And really the only way that this works is if folks are committed and like we've shared before, this hopefully is not a one and done sort of scenario. If now's not the right time, we get it, but also, and we understand things come up. So it's not something that, we're completely unreasonable with that sort of commitment, but you should know going in that this is the expectation. So I love these feel good pictures, and one day I'll show you my picture of my cohort for the Job Quality Fellowship with Aspen, because the conversations that happen when you put people this close into a group and try to take a picture of however many, 20, 22, 24 people, it's a lot of fun. So that's more of the fun stuff, but it's exciting to be in rooms with other leaders who are making change, and whether they're in your current network or not, being able to share ideas. And I look forward to having a group of people who are really committed to our community. I live in Cuyahoga County, even though I work statewide. And I think, it's got the potential to be a really dynamic group. Do you want to talk about the timeline, LaShawn, or do you want me to keep going?
Go ahead and keep going.
Okay, so I think you've heard most of what the actual exact content, but the timeline looks like, here's some dates for you. So you can check your calendars. If you're getting married on September 13th, this probably isn't going to be the best match for you. So we tried to sketch it out. Actually, was really worked hard to sketch it out, and thank you. We tried to check, as many different calendars as we could, but here's the sketch of the timeline, the actual dates for this year. And this is, always, I suppose, up for having things added to it, as we mentioned, the networking or receptions, or if we do something with the mayor's office or whatnot. But this is where we're at today, and is a good, solid plan for the year. So you've got all of those dates. Here's the timeline in a different format that gives you a sense of how this work flows across the year. And you'll get copies of these. They're available in the application packet, and we are going to post this recording so you will be able to share. But here's all of the dates in a little bit of a different format. Again, it's quite the commitment, but I think worth it. So the application itself is an online application that is managed through a platform called Submittable. We have posted a PDF of the materials so that you can see what you're going to be asked for and work through it. But I have greatly appreciated the Aspen team being as thoughtful as possible as far as trying to make it easier for us and easier for you. And so this is not like a college essay sort of application. We want you to get to the point quickly. And there have been a lot of steps taken to make that happen. So once you start, many of you have already submitted an intent to apply. If you submitted that, and let me pause for a minute. I see Carter has her hand up.
So there's a couple of questions in the chat that I just want to answer before we get too much into the application. So where is the April opening retreat being held? We're still working on that. It will be within Cleveland or a couple
an hour generally
outside of it, so close by, but yeah. And then our sessions and labs in person or on Zoom. Most of them are on Zoom, so when you get a copy of these slides on the calendar, things are noted if they're in person or online. Most are online. The opening and closing retreats are in person, and then there is a session and lab combined in July that is also in person. That's just a one-day session, but other than that, most everything's online.
Okay. There are two main parts to the application itself. And I already mentioned Submittable, the platform. You do have to create a login, but it's pretty intuitive. You can walk through it. If you have any problems, you'll reach out to Carter, and she'll either be able to direct you or connect you to the folks who can. We are looking for support from your supervisor, and so you should consider that in the process, as well as a letter of reference from a partner or a supervisor. And those are kind of two separate steps. There is no, and you can again read what we have listed here for materials. There is no fee to apply, and cost should not be any sort of limitation. There's no limitations for applications, and we will not have a situation where the tuition is a barrier to participation. So we are wanting to make sure that we're able to get support from organizations that are able to provide it. If your organization is not able to provide it, then we will have some scholarships available, and you should still apply. Let me see. I'm sure I'm missing some key points because I'm doing the slides and I can't see my notes. So Sheila or Dr. Sawyer, please jump in if there's key things that I should be dialed into here.
I think you covered everything.
That's some sort of miracle, you all. Okay, I'll go to the next slide. Oh, see, I'm ahead of the curve. So if you have not yet, please do submit the intent to apply. We are going to be asking the advisory group to have, to volunteer to review applications, and everyone's application will be reviewed at least by at least 2 people. It's very helpful for our capacity planning purposes to know what to expect by way of applications. And I know that there are quite a few folks on here who have not done the intent to apply, and then we actually have applications from others who have not done it. So it's just helpful from a work planning perspective if you could go ahead and do that. And we are looking at making sure, like I said, that our funnel, applicants represent the community, and that we are making sure that the demographics and whatnot of the accepted fellows are representative of the applicant pool. So we really, it's helpful to have that information so we can target recruitment. We do encourage you to share the information and, pass it along to friends and colleagues and folks that may not have heard about the work. Everything's available on the coalition website. And again, you please feel free to reach out to Carter, Dr. Sawyer, or myself. And here's some emails to keep in mind that you want to look out for throughout the process. I forgot this slide was here because I always end up going to search for those sorts of emails. So this will be helpful. Submittable does a really good job of saying, hey, you're registered. We've got your application. You need to do this. And then we will also be pinging people or following up with you if we're missing things.
One thing to note here is if you save your application and want to go back and finish it later, you have to use the same computer and within the same type of browser. So if you're on your work laptop using Chrome, to continue the application, you have to be on your work laptop using Chrome. It's some weird glitch in the submittable system. So just something to keep in mind. And the system does tell you that as well.
Okay, let's see. So as I already mentioned, the applications will be reviewed and approved by members of the advisory committee. We are looking for that, putting together a good cohort. So in addition to the qualifications and the applications of individuals, we are thinking about what the group needs to look like and how the group will come together. So applications opened on the 13th, they are due February 17th. And we will be notifying those who are accepted ideally, and this is the plan, by Monday, March 13th, you will hear something from us. And, there's always, especially the first time you're doing something, things come up in the process or whatnot, but we will certainly do our best to make sure that we get something out to you by the 13th. And that's the spiel. Would love to have a conversation about what you think of it, any questions you have, what you're sitting with after listening in. I think we've tackled the questions in the chat. Anyone want to share what their superhero is or what cartoon they would be? Jenna, I know you've got something.
I'm a cartoon in real life, so I don't have to. This is really informative. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. There's no questions. Hi, Sherry. You popped up right in the middle of my screen.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm glad you're here. Do you have questions?
No, I was late in joining, but I did see this is recorded.
Yes.
So thank you for doing so, because I was late in joining.
Absolutely, no problem. We will have the slides available too. So if you want to just flip through or read the slides, you can download those. You don't have to watch the whole recording.
I know I have shared the information with colleagues in my space, and I will continue to encourage them to complete first the initial survey of their intent.
Thank you.
But it was pretty well received. I just don't know. I'll do a check-in with the CDCs to see how they're responding to it, because there was some questions about cost.
So I don't know if you joined before or after I said that. So there is a
Yes, I
twist.
did.
Okay, so you heard me say that cost should not be a reason someone does or doesn't apply. We want to have the right group, and then we will figure out what we need to figure out to make that group happen. I will bill Sheila if I have to. So yes, please do jump in. Questions, you can raise your hand. You can drop in there's a few things in the chat. We might have just been comment. Okay. Carter's sharing some additional information, but other questions we have 10 minutes, 9 minutes left. Ms. Harris, do you have a question? You came on camera. I would love to have you introduce yourself. I don't know your name.
Salome Harris, and I am work for Cuyahoga Community College Options Program, our adult education program. So very much interested in the area of workforce, of course, with the population that we serve. And I was off camera because my phone is ringing in the background.
Of course it is, yes.
And so happy to get the information and looking forward to it.
Wonderful, great. Okay.
Hey, this is Alana real quick. How do we get and when do we get this party started? Woo woo, workforce, right?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And the party started I don't know, last fall, as we were saying, well, probably actually, Sheila, we've been talking about bringing this to Ohio for how long? She's on mute, but it's been a long time. I've been saying, Sheila, hey, when are you going to do some more of those local academies?
A long time ago.
So I will share that I first met Sheila when the Academy was actually national, and this will date myself, but back in 2005, 2006, when I was working at what is now Manufacturing Works in Cleveland. So it's come full circle, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this. I still have my binders, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if there's things that we did that are still part of what we do today. And actually, I have a note I wrote myself during my first opening retreat, so I'll share that with all of you when we get going. I could just let you go instead of keep talking, but captive audience. Okay, LaShawn, any parting thoughts?
Definitely reach out. We have a slide with Carter's contact information and Victoria's contact information for tech support or questions about the process. Only reach out to them. It's the last slide. And all of us that are on here, we're happy to answer questions as well and are available for any discussions as you're noodling this around and trying to see how you can fit one more thing on your plate. But this one more thing is a wonderful opportunity.
Okay, well, you have a little bit of time left. Do those intent to applies, and we look forward to seeing applications coming in. Thank you very much, and keep an eye out for the recording. Take good care, everyone.